Oh, I already gave you more. Yeah. Natalie, you're going to have enough.
She runs like 6 miles a day.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. If everybody could stand for the prayer. This morning we had a wonderful gathering for the mayor's annual prayer breakfast, and I want to read from one of the prayers that he left on our table. So we'll begin our prayer now. Let us bow our heads. From Isaiah 41:10, "Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." Father, we want to ask that you be with us here this evening as we make decisions that face our city. We were reminded this morning by Mayor Landrieu that we need to hear your will, we need to know your will, and we need to do your will. And we ask that you make yourself present to us. We, of course, want to pray for all of our servicemen this week of celebration of Veterans Day, that you be with all of those families who have served and who are serving, with all those men and women who protect our lives every day and our freedom. And we want to pray for our police and firemen, that you continue to strengthen them and keep them safe from harm. We also have a couple of special intentions for the father-in-law of one of our council members, Mr. Gregory Carroll. His wife Marie's father, Tommy Butler, passed away, and we want to ask for your blessing upon their family. Councilmember DeNapolis had a special intention.
Yes, for Tamara Butterfield. She passed away in her sleep this morning at the age of 23. She is the niece of Larry Daigle. Please keep her in your attentions, and her family and her husband. Thank you.
And for all members of our community who are suffering, that we ask that you be with them. In your name we pray for all of these things. Amen.
Amen.
Mr. Mayor, if you'd lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At the beginning, like before the first one, you want me to say this, we want to do it, or you're going to take it?
I'll do it. She'll get you. Madam Chairman, you have a quorum. In accordance with Council Resolution Number B14550, please be advised that all cellular telephones, pagers, beepers, and other devices of this nature must be deactivated or silenced throughout the council meeting. Madam Chairman, we've received a request this evening to amend the agenda to include item 3A, which will be a public gathering permit, number 172212, an application for the City of Kenner to hold a Kenner's Christmas Village on November 30th, December 1st, December 2nd, December 7th, December 8th, December 9th, December 14th, December 15th, December 16th, December 21st, and December 22nd from 5:30 to 8:30 at the Kenner Heritage Park.
Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Black, to suspend the council rules. All members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0 to suspend your rules.
Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Black, to amend the agenda to include item 3A. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to object? Seeing none, council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0 to add item 3A to your agenda this evening. Madam Chairman, we've also received a request to amend the agenda this evening to include item 16L. Which is an ordinance amending Chapter 16, Article 1 and Article 2 of the City of Kenner Code of Ordinances regarding vehicles for hire.
Motion by Councilmember DeNapolis, second by Councilmember DeFrancis, to suspend the council rules. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
Motion by Councilmember DeNapolis, second by Councilmember DeFrancis, to amend the agenda to include item 16L. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to object to this item being added to the agenda? Seeing none, council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Madam Chairman, we've received a request this evening also to change the order of business to take item 18A at the beginning of the meeting.
Motion by Councilmember Brannigan, second by Councilmember Black, to change the order of business. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0 to change the order of business. Item 18A, at the request of Councilmember Brannigan, Dr. Patty Glacier, school leader and the Board of Directors of the Discovery Health Science Foundation, to speak to the council on the opening of the charter school in 2013 in the City of Kenner.
Okay, this evening we are privileged to have Dr. Patty Glazer, who will be the leader of the charter school that we'll be hearing about. We are very excited, and we know you have some of your members of the Board of Directors. We could all name them with our eyes closed, but I will allow you the honor of doing so if you want to introduce each of your board members. And please, fill us with some good news.
We do. We are very, very excited also. First of all, I want to thank the council for the opportunity to address you all tonight. We're so excited about the school. It's just hard to hold your enthusiasm in at this point. We're very proud to announce the opening of Kenner's first charter school, and it's so much fun every time I write that, Kenner's first charter school, Kenner Discovery Health Sciences Academy. It's a mouthful, and it'll open in August 2013. We do have many of our board members with us tonight. Our board president is here, Diane Hollis. Diane. Joe Calderera, Doc Madrigal, Linda Nugent-Smith, and the ones that are not with us are Wayne Thomas, Henry Shane, Jim Hudson, Jean Monty, and Ronnie Sloan. A charter school, as some people get confused about it, it is a public school, and what it does is it provides educational choice for families, because instead of being assigned to a certain school, families can choose to go to that charter, no matter what neighborhood they live in. So any student in Jefferson Parish is eligible to enroll. However, students in Kenner will be given preferential admissions for the first 40% of the available seats. So the first 40% of seats absolutely go to kids in Kenner, and then beyond that to Jefferson Parish. The Jefferson Parish School Board gave us a campus last week. We'll be located at the vacant Majority campus on Main Avenue, right behind Home Depot and Walmart. Our goal is to build a new facility near Vintage and Loyola within 3 years, and our vision's even bigger than that. It's to open 3 Discovery Academies, all with the same mission: Kenner Discovery in 2013, West Bank Discovery in 2014, and then a high school in or about 2016 in Kenner again to accommodate the kids who have now graduated from 8th grade. With health and sciences and high academic achievement as our mission, we aim to home grow the healthcare professionals of the future for both Kenner and Jefferson Parish. And as we know, healthcare is such a big need now and will be for the next 20 years at least or more in terms of jobs and job opportunities. KDHSA's curriculum will include traditional academics with the infusion of healthy lifestyles, physical activity, good nutrition, wellness, sustainable environment, and science inquiry, all of this using 21st century tools. Next year, we're going to open grades pre-K through 3rd and 5th and 6th. The following year, we'll have a pre-K through 7th grade school, and by year 3, we'll be pre-K through 8th. We have 300 seats open for the coming school year. Student applications are open now and can be found on our website, which is on our trifold. But actually, if you Google the name, you can actually find the website with Google. And on the site, there's a link to our Facebook page and our Twitter account because we're trying to reach 20 and 30-year-olds, and so we're using a lot of social media. We're also holding community meetings. We have 3 community meetings coming up at the East Regional Library in the next couple of weeks, and we have addressed a couple of civic associations and look forward to addressing more of the civic associations. We are very, very excited about the project and the promise. We promise you a school that Kenner's going to be proud of and really believe it'll be a national model for health sciences and for academic achievement. Thank you very much.
Okay, I know we're going to have some questions, but so you're being funded by the Jefferson Parish School System?
Well, we're a Type 1 charter, which means it's open to students within the parish where we are authorized. Jefferson Parish School Board authorized us, but with a charter school, you're authorized by the district, but you're not a district school. So we receive funding the same way a traditional public school does at both the state and the local level. But a lot of the decisions can be made at the level of the school, in the school building itself, in terms of hiring, retention of faculty, curriculum, the health sciences focus, the infusion of health sciences. Those are all individual decisions that we're making at the school level. And the power of a charter school is the educational choice it provides for families and the autonomy it gives school leaders in designing a school that works for their community.
And you said the first year you're going to have pre-K through 3rd. And how many classes of each, or how many students in each level will you be accepting?
1 pre-K class, so that'll be about 18 students. In kindergarten, we're actually going to have 3 sections. We assume that'll be the most applied for because of kids starting. So we'll have 3 sections of kindergarten. That's somewhere between 66 and 75 kids. And for 2nd, 3rd, 5th, and 6th grade, we'll have 2 sections. So that's anywhere, you know, from 48 to 50 kids.
And what about first?
We'll have 2 sections for 1st, 2nd,
Oh, first.
3rd, 5th, and 6th. And then, of course, the 2nd year, as our 3 sections of kindergarten move up, then we'll have 3 sections of 1st grade. So we're building toward the total build-out of the school to be 3 sections of each grade at each grade level.
And Jefferson Parish is providing the money for the building of the new facility?
They're not providing that. That's yet to be determined. However, there is a state allotment of money per student. So really, before you think about building a building, you have to get a critical mass of students. And there is a state amount of $603 per child that is given to take care of the facility that the children are in. So whether it's a facility that Jefferson Parish gives us or a facility that we build, that amount of money will go toward it. That amount of money will not cover all the expenses of it.
And the criteria for admission besides living in Jefferson Parish, that's East or West Bank, correct? I mean, somebody
West
could,
Bank.
okay.
The entire Jefferson
So
Parish.
what would the other criteria be besides the residential?
It's actually an open enrollment school. So there is no testing that has to go on before the child comes. What we are promising, we're going to have a fabulous staff, and we're going to, when we get the kids, test them, see what level they're at, start at that level, teaching them, and go from there. So it's open enrollment.
Okay. Councilmember Stagney.
Thank you, Madam President. Dr. Glazer, I have no doubt, considering all the foundation board members you have and who they have, that this will be a very successful endeavor. Can you give us an idea of what the boundaries are going to be? Because I know there's an initial boundary, and then you'll accept some students outside of that area as long as they're within the city?
There is an initial boundary, a geographic area of Lake Pontchartrain, Duncan Canal. Linda? The parish line and the I-10. So that's the initial boundary where we'll have 25% of the kids that come from that area will receive preferential admissions. On top of that, 15% of kids from Kenner will receive preferential admissions. So here's how it works. If a grade level is oversubscribed, the one you would think might be oversubscribed is kindergarten, okay? So we have about 66 openings. If we get 75 applicants for kindergarten, then we have to go to a lottery system where we pick 66 names out of the 75. But the first thing we would do is take any of the kids that reside in Kenner, and they would get first preference for the first 40% of the 66 seats in first grade. It'll be a mathematical challenge, but it
No,
really
but that's
gives
great, because
Kenner
that's
kids,
we can
yeah.
truly call it a Kenner Charter School, so we're very excited. Majority is located in District 2. I know the area well, and our commitment and my commitment as a District 2 councilman is to take care of some of those street panels that are just across the street next to, in between you guys and St. Lawrence. So, Mr. Jose, if you could have your department go out and identify those panels next week, District 2 has some capital money available. We will help repair that. I have no doubt that this is going to be very successful. Parents are going to gravitate to this school. Is there any transportation provided? How does that work?
There will be some limited transportation, and we really have to see who applies first. We have transportation money in the budget. We have spoken with Jefferson Parish School Board. We'll either, and this is again a thing about charter schools, we can either opt to buy some of the transportation that the school district has, or we can go to an independent transportation service if they give us a better rate and it seems better. We have to see how many kids live outside of the 1 mile boundary first, and then where we can go from there, what makes sense. We are going to really encourage carpooling a tremendous amount, because every dollar that's not spent on transportation is then spent in the classroom.
Great. Well, I think this is going to...
We're going to set up actually Excel spreadsheets with addresses in it and help parents connect to who lives in the area near each other for carpooling purposes.
I remember Mr. Shane some 4 years ago talking about this, and I think it's finally come to fruition. Y'all are doing a great job. I think this is a great incubator for what's to come. So y'all keep up the great work. We'll do our part as a city. While y'all are in District 2, I'll do my part to help you all. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember DeNapolis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And we got to meet at the Economic Development Council, which Mr. Henry Shane had introduced you at. And of course, at that time, you showed us a little bit more of a vision of what you plan on for Kenner. And you're correct, Councilman Stagney, this is a school board. I mean, your board directors are very much Kenner-minded people. They all are. They have a vested interest in it and a love for Kenner, and that's just gonna propagate through the entire school and what you do there and your mission. And I know several years ago, then Mayor Muniz and myself championed trying to get Holy Cross to come to the site that you have located to, which is in Vintage Drive and at Loyola. And I know I've also talked to Sandy Denapolis and also to Mark Jacobs. They are more than willing to alienate that property to you guys. I know you're working out all the structure and that sort of thing. So hopefully, eventually, that site will become one of the great school sites that we have here in Kenner. And of course, that's just going to be a tremendous addition to what Kenner can offer. Its residents and those people who are looking, to move to Kenner and to find that, that not only do we have everything else, hopefully running at 100%, but we also have education as a very high priority. So I can't wait to see, maybe 3-4 years down the road, I'll start to see some buildings going up over there on Vintage and Loyola. It's a wonderful track, and I do know the school board is very supportive of you guys, and I'll tell you, this entire council and administration, we're biting our nails just waiting for you guys to open.
So are we. And we really, the vision of the pre-K through 12 is because then that really does attract families. Because, gee, I can live here and have my child educated all the way through high school. Absolutely.
And I tell you, these specific oriented schools are just becoming the trend throughout the entire United States. And it's what, like you said you're reaching out to people through Twitter and Facebook, because those are the people who are actually looking, the younger families and the younger, this is what they're looking to put their children into. I mean, these are a little more educated and engaged type of schools that are specific, and this is wonderful. It's a science and health, and I mean, my daughter, one of my daughters is a registered nurse, and I know exactly what she has done with herself in that career, and it's wonderful. I mean,
Thank you, Councilman. We're very excited about it.
Pickle pink on this one, man. Thank you.
Mayor Yenny.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you very much. I appreciate y'all for being here. This was one of the first things, and Maria and Kent know from the Economic Development Committee meetings way early on when they first started, this is one of the first things we were able to check off the box when everybody on the committee said we need a charter school in Kenner. So this was one of the first accomplishments we were able to put beside us and move forward after that, and we look forward to working with them, and I'm glad that they attend all of the meetings and are part of those meetings, so we can continue to make this happen and make Kenner a better place to live and try to attract new people to come to Kenner because of this. So I appreciate everything y'all have done and continue doing. Thank you.
Councilmember DeFrancis.
Thank you, Council President. Again, Ms. Glazer and I did meet at the Economic Development meeting, and the other night she spoke at the Pachyderm Club as well. And I've spoken to some of the board members, and in fact, one in particular mentioned going to the various civic organization meetings. You've already spoken at Chateau's meeting, but there are other, of course, in District 4 as well as the rest of the city of Kenner, and I know the mayor has agreed to provide you all with a list of all the civic organization meetings, and I'll be happy to attend not only in District 4, anywhere else you would like me to attend, because I really feel very strongly about this. I've been in education for way over 35 years, and my heart has always been with the children of Jefferson Parish and the entire area. And I was wondering if you all had made any decision on whether or not to contact, for example, LSU Medical School to get them on board with you all. I do have contacts there, because I worked with them on a project not long ago and set up meetings with some of our state legislators for LSU who asked me to make that contact for them. So I am offering my services to you all, and I mentioned it to Mr. Shane this morning that if there's anything I can do to help promote the school or in any way, advance it, I'm there for you, because I truly believe in what we're doing for our children.
We would love for you to help us make contact with LSU
I'll be
Medical
happy
Center. Actually, my first career was as a speech-language therapist, and my degree is from LSU HSC. So I had reached out to one of my professors already. I would love for you to help us reach out, and they sounded interested.
Well, if you give me a call, we'll meet, and I will be happy to start setting up those contacts for you.
Sounds good.
Councilmember Black.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Glazer, thank you so much. Kenner should be proud that we have a charter school, and I know that you all will be successful, as Mr. Denopoulos said, with the board members that you have. Their interest in Kenner is certainly its foremost. I've been listening intently, and all of the questions that came into my mind were mostly answered by you. But is there any other school starting out at these lower grades anywhere that offers this type of curriculum? Because I've never heard of any of the other charter schools starting with the lower grades like this that were able to offer this kind of curriculum.
That's such a good point. Across the country, you can find lots of models of science and STEM-related high schools, not so much for elementary schools. And one of the first things the board said to me when I met with them in the early time was, what does health sciences mean to you as an elementary school? Can you make that work? Well, of course you can make it work. You know, healthy living, good nutrition, healthy lifestyles. I mean, these are all things that we know our kids need more awareness of.
And you're never too young to start. That's why I'm so happy that y'all have decided to do this at the early
Growing
ages.
a vegetable garden and using some of those vegetables in the school, you know, having the kids actually tend to the garden. So there's plenty you can do, and it actually just sets them up to then enter a high school with a similar theme and mission. And even if they don't enter the healthcare profession, they'll be a healthier citizen because of their education.
My congratulations to you and the rest of the board members for having this come to be a reality. And if there's anything we can help in regards to fundraising or anything that we can do to make this a great success, it's already going to be a success. I want to do even greater. Please do not hesitate to contact us. Thank you so much.
All right, Dr. Glazer, well, thank you so much. We are all here with whatever needs that you need. We don't even know what to offer. I'd like to come read to the kids. That's my favorite thing to do. But I'm certain that there's other ways that you can utilize me, so please feel free to call on any of us. So
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
thank you. Madam Clerk?
Yes, ma'am. We've also received a request this evening to change the order of business to take item 18B at the beginning of the meeting.
Motion by Councilmember DeNapolis, second by Councilmember Black to change the order of business. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0 to change the order of business for item 18B. Item 18B, at the request of Councilmember DeNapolis, a discussion on the New Orleans International Airport regulations and rules for taxi cabs as they relate to the city of Kenner.
Councilmember DeNapolis.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and this is kind of co-authored with me, with my cohort here, Councilwoman DeFrances, who both of us have a very concern about the developments at the airport as it relates to a very prolific business that we have here in Kenner, which is our independent taxi cabs here in Kenner. And basically, I'm sure if you kept up with the news, that the airport is putting further restrictions on the operations and what the taxi cabs have to have in their cabs in order to be able to pick up fares at the airport. And what's happened is that there's actually only two companies that I know of that I've been able to research and actually talk to both of them. And both of them say that because they are currently outfitting the New Orleans taxi cabs, which are some 1,600, I believe, close to 1,600 taxi cabs, that they will not have time to actually put the same equipment into the Kenner or Jefferson Parish or St. Charles Parish taxi cabs, which means that our fleet of cabs here in Kenner cannot meet the December 31st deadline that has been established by the airport by the Chief of Operations Officer over there, Mr. Walter Kronotsky, okay? And basically, the urgency is that this administration and this council needs to actually send some sort of correspondence to them, unifying what our position is that I don't think we're opposing the upgrading of these cabs, but the problem is that the two companies that all the surrounding area, regional area taxi cabs rely on are only focusing on New Orleans and getting New Orleans up and running by December 31st. At this time, if I had a Kenner taxi cab, if I were to make an appointment with one of these companies, they would not take me till the end or towards the beginning of February, which means that I can't, which I've been traditionally doing if I was a taxi cab owner for 15 years, I could not pick up at the airport. So I do have a sense of urgency with the mayor, Mr. Quigley. Maybe possibly we can get together with Councilwoman DeFrancis and myself, so that in this council, so that we can kind of uniformly send a letter to both Mr. Kowalski and also to Mr. The other gentleman's name, Mr. Iftikhar, but the one that's actually also running some of this, and just get them a notice that our cabs cannot meet their deadline. So what are we going to do? Okay, and I do have couple of taxi cab people here today. Oscar, if you would like to come and talk to the mic and kind of confirm what I just said and what they're going through, because I mean let's face it, the airport is a great part of their business. Okay, Oscar, please state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Oscar Marin, 205 Georgetown Drive, Kenner, Louisiana. And basically what's going on, we've been phased out at the airport. Pretty much what's going on in the city of New Orleans, they want their cabs just picking up at the airport. And they want just pretty much city cabs picking up over there. And we just, let me see. There's about 600 cabs at the airport, Jefferson Parish and Kenner cabs, and we don't have enough time to get everything that we need to do. So they're giving us 2 months to get everything done. 2 months is not enough time. They got a waiting list right now, which is about between 2 and 3 months right now to get everything done. So right now, if the airport says that they sent out a paper today, we had a meeting today, and it said that if we don't comply by January 1st, we won't be out of work. We won't be able to work at the airport. So we need time.
And basically, Mayor, just to kind of inform that this is going to actually, I mean, we have some 350 CPNCs here in Kenner. And I mean, and let's face it, Kenner isn't, I mean, the airport is in Kenner, okay? At least last time I looked at the map. And the basic situation is that I don't think that they grasp, maybe they do, grasp the impact what's going to happen to the city of Kenner taxi cabs. I mean, basically, a taxi cab that's CPNCs here in Kenner cannot pick up in half of our city, which is ridiculous, okay? And, you know, this is why we brought this up to discussion, Councilwoman DeFrancis and I, is to make this aware that we understand your plight on this, and that we're definitely going to be supportive of it.
We just need more time.
Exactly, and I actually one of the metering companies Abe owns here in Kenner, right? He told me he couldn't right now with just the backlog he has.
Yeah.
He can't even touch a Kenner or Jefferson Parish or St. Charles Parish cab to some mid-January date, which means you're out of work at the airport. Okay.
If you go try it, they got 2 places. They got A Meter Shop.
Yeah.
And Ellis, which is in the city. Now, if you were to try to get all the equipment done at either one of those locations, Malachi Hall, he's in charge of the taxi cabs in the city.
That's the name I was thinking.
Okay, he's telling them, do not touch the Kenner cabs or Jefferson Parish cab. He only wants city cabs. So basically, by the first of the year, you're only going to have city cabs picking up at the airport.
Gosh, I wish I could get some proof on that, you know, Malachi Hall is telling these 2 local companies not to do it. I'd love to get some proof on that.
All you do is call them up.
Yeah.
You know, a few of our cab drivers that called over there, and this is the response that they got.
Yeah. So this is, yeah. So I mean,
it's a big problem. Our livelihood, it's at stake right now. You know, you got 400 cabs at the airport, stressed out over this issue.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know, we need help.
Okay.
Big time.
Okay, and I'll close. I'm going to go ahead and let my colleagues speak.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so you're done?
For now.
Councilmember DeFrancis.
Thank you. Thank you, Council President. I just want to clarify a little bit of what we've been talking about. The problem is because there are two companies out here, two-meter companies, and because the City of New Orleans doesn't have many individual cab drivers who own their own cabs and who work independently, because they have large groups, many different cab companies with multiple drivers, they have taken every single slot available. And they're going to get preference. When you come in with a whole group of people, all from the same company, the meter company owner is going to put you one after the other. So by the time all of these large companies come in and sign up their cab drivers, there are no slots left. And so that's what has happened to our cab drivers. They have no slots available for them, and therefore they're technically out of business because they can't comply. It is unfair to put in place regulations that have timelines in them that do not permit everyone to get whatever equipment in place that needs to be placed in their cabs in order to make them eligible to again, to participate on picking up passengers at the airport. It is unfair to do that. The timeline needs to be expanded. It needs to be increased so that they have a fair chance. And so that's what Councilman Dinopoulos and I are asking. We're asking that a letter be drafted indicating that the timeline has to be changed because it is not possible for our cab drivers to get the equipment in place and be inspected in time. And it is unfair to take away someone's livelihood when they're trying to cooperate in every way possible, but because of the circumstances, they're not able to do so. And so that's what we're really talking about here. Fairness to everyone, to make sure everyone has an equal and fair shot to make a living and to do it the right way by following the rules. Sir, did you want to come and speak on something I said? Would you please, again, give your name and address, sir?
George Gibbs, 3030 Edenbourne, Metairie. No, I just wanted to say that make no mistake about this. They're trying to trick us out because, see, it's to their advantage. They want less cabs out there so the New Orleans cabs can make more money and be happy with, having to buy all this stuff and all. But they trying to trick us out because they know there's no way we can make the deadline.
And that's why we're talking about extending it for you to make it fair, because you need to have the opportunity to, again, get your cab, again, inspected with the equipment.
They're trying to do that because they want less cabs, just so their guys can be there, less, we're not there, get rid of the parish cabs, and then they're making more money and they're happier,
Well, even if we don't look at their motivation, the bottom line is you have to have a fair opportunity.
Thank you.
Sir, did you want to say something as well?
State your name and address for the record, sir.
Good afternoon. My name's Anthony Pierce. I live at 305 Georgetown Drive in Canton, Louisiana. I've been driving taxi cabs approximately 14 years, Kenner Taxi. I'm totally opposed for all these new rules and regulations. I'm not going to beat around the bush about it. No. And I don't see where Orleans Parish imposed rules and regulations for businesses that operate in Kenner, period. We're all individual business owners driving Kenner taxi cabs. Why should they impose their rules on us? Okay? And another thing is, if we're not allowed to pick up fares in Orleans Parish. If they catch us picking up a fare in Orleans Parish, they give us a $500 fine. If they really want to be mean about it, they could throw us in jail and hold us for 48 hours. Now, if we could have to go by their rules and regulations, shouldn't we have the same opportunity that Orleans Parish cabs have? I've had people from the airport, bringing all the hotels all over New Orleans, request me to pick them up at a certain date and bring them back to the airport. I can't do that. I tell them, I'm sorry. They look at me astonished. Why not? Aren't you a taxi cab? I say, yes, I am a taxi cab. I have to go through the whole 9 yards explaining all this to my passengers a lot of times. And they say, I've never heard of such a thing. Why don't we have the same opportunity to play on an even playing field with Orleans Parish? If we got to go by their rules and regulations, I personally feel we should be able to pick up, if we choose to, in Orleans Parish. And I think that's what the city council ought to bring up to the city council in Orleans Parish to make it fair. plain and simple. It's the way I feel about it, and I'm sure if a lot of these other taxi cab drivers was to get up here and speak the way they truly feel about it, a lot of them would feel the same way about the situation. Now, I have no gripes about going in compliance with everything. As a matter of fact, just last week, I bought a brand-new car, sitting in my driveway. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. I haven't had the say-so from the city council here about what's the rules and regulations Kenner's going to impose on it. All of them, half of them, none of them, or what? I don't know what to do.
Well, we're still working on a lot of issues, and we're going to continue working with all of you. And I just want to make it plain that the reason tonight this discussion is taking place is because if we don't do anything, if we don't send a letter, if we don't ask for this extension, you literally will be no longer working at the airport. So that's really what this is about tonight. But we have to take everything step by step by step. And a lot of those issues you brought up are still under discussion and we're still working on. But the first and most important step at this point in time, and again, I'm not going to make any judgment on the motivation of Orleans Parish or anyone else because I don't have that right to do that at this point without further, without having proof of anything. But I will say that we need to make sure that everyone is treated fairly. And because there are no slots available till past the new year, past that deadline, because of the fact that you all, no matter what you do, cannot get your cabs inspected on time, we need to send that letter, and that's what this is all about, to at least give you the opportunity to do what needs to be done. And so we're requesting that our city attorney work with us on and the administration on this letter to ensure that you all have the time to get your cabs inspected and any equipment that needs to be put in on time.
The city attorney is going to address this situation?
No, I said the city attorney is going to help us, I hope, draft a letter. Is that not right? Councilman Dinopoulos will finish up and talk about that aspect of it.
Well, I'm sure most of the taxis have no reservations about putting with all the new rules and regulations as long as they give us the same opportunity.
I understand.
The same amount of living that Orleans Parish cabs
I
pay.
totally
As a
understand.
matter of fact, the city council passed a remark not long ago where they have to impose the same rules and regulations for parish cabs to keep an even playing field for Orleans Parish cabs. That's not an even playing field if we can't pick up fares in Orleans Parish, if we choose to pick them up.
I understand, sir. As I said, but we have to do it step by step, and this is the most important thing right now, to give you time, extra time, and you won't have it unless we get that letter out and move forward with it. So, again, I will turn it back to Councilman Dinopoulos to let you get some more information of how we're going to move forward at this point.
Okay, Councilmember Dinopoulos, if you'll turn your light off again, we've had other people sign up, and so if you'll turn off your light, cancel your request. Okay. Now you can request again so that you'll come up in the order. Are you finished, sir? You have a few seconds left. Are you finished?
Well, the thing is, we have a lot of tourists going in the city of New Orleans, people from all over the country, even from out of the country. And it's hard for them to comprehend why you can bring them into the city and you can't pick them up from the city and bring them back to the airport when it's time for them to leave.
Okay.
I mean, it's not something that I'm coming up with on my own. This is
No, and I think
many a times.
Okay, your time's up. We have other people who want to speak, so perhaps they'll shed some light on it for you. Ms. Shaw?
Thank you, Council President. I just want to be clear for the record. I have spoken to the airport officials. They've sent an extended list with more service providers that can provide the service, and I will be asking that we put that on our website and also post it down at our break tag station. We understand that we have a lot of independent owners as opposed to those people who are in New Orleans and they have taxi cab companies. So it has been burdensome on our taxi cab drivers. However, we're still committed to working with the airport. We've had open dialogues with them. We're committed to working at the airport, and we are trying to work out some other things that we could come to some type of fairness approach for both our cabs in the city and to adhere to the rules. So we are looking to approach that with a balance. So I just wanted to be on the record that they did send a list of other providers, and we will be making that available.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Shaw. Councilmember Black.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I can certainly understand you guys out there, how you feel, because I agree with you. I agree that New Orleans for so long has had control of that airport, and we served on a couple of boards, Councilwoman Brannigan and I, to work with the authorities, with the Aviation Board. We even had a representative from the city of Kenner serve on that board. And I'll be doing, when I come in at the airport at 11 or 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, I call and I ask for a Kenner cab, because I'm not going to go ahead and get someone from New Orleans to drive me out of Kenner. For one thing, it's cheaper, you know, and it's more convenient. And so I can understand how you feel. What I would like to know now, Ms. Shaw, is there a group, I mean, could we appeal to the Aviation Board to we have a representative on that board, I assume we still have a representative on that Aviation Board, to give them the plight of our cab drivers, because obviously New Orleans has had some heavy lobbyists from the big cab companies, and they were able to pass enact this ruling that Kenner cab drivers cannot go into New Orleans, but yet New Orleans cab drivers can go to Kenner. That doesn't seem fair at all. Yes. And so I'd like to know if we as a group can get together and appeal to the Aviation Board in a meeting or in some sort of correspondence and tell them that we wholeheartedly think that rule is absurd and that everybody should be treated on equal terms. And especially with the Super Bowl being coming up here in next year. I mean, that they're going to need more cab drivers, and it's ludicrous to think that certain people are excluded simply because they're out of the city of the parish of Orleans.
Yes, we can appeal to the New Orleans Aviation Board, and I will tell you, researching this for months now, this is a fight that the city of Kenner has been having or stating since 1978. I found legislation back from 1978 and 1980 regarding requesting the same things that we're asking now in 2012.
But we haven't approached it since we have a representative on that board, and with in light of what happened in the late 90s and the early 2000s when Ms. Brannigan and I served with that board representing the city of Kenner, and we were able to talk with some of them and gain a little leeway. So I think it's something that we really definitely have to approach again aggressively, and I certainly would like to be a part of that, because you know I don't take no for an answer.
I know. The board has been amenable. We made it known that we have a lot of independence, so they actually didn't adopt all of the New Orleans ordinances because it would be so burdensome, but some of the ones they still have. And like I said, the time frame, the December 31st, if there are no time slots for the City of Kenner cabs, then of course that would effectively put them out of business. Like I said, I think this board has been amenable, and we need to seek to make sure that we're looking at some of the avenues that we've discussed privately at meetings with the taxi cab members about special uses and picking up, you know, for certain time frames, like the Super Bowl, for certain events, giving our Kenner cabs priority for those times periods. So we are working on some things, but I think it would be best that the council address them in some type of form of a letter, resolution, or something to that effect.
Well, I'd like to ask the council president to either form a committee of any of the members of the council who would like to attend the next Aviation Board meeting, or to plan and ask them for a meeting with ourselves and try and resolve this issue, because it's not going to go away, and if we don't fight it and continue to fight it aggressively, we're never going to make any leeway. Because you know what they say, that you can't fight City Hall, but I'm not talking about Kenner City Hall, I'm talking about Orleans Parish City Hall. So I want to do whatever we can, because I think it's grossly unfair of the way that our Jefferson Parish cab drivers and Kenner cab drivers are being affected.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mayor Yenny?
No, I just wanted to ask perhaps, and we'll get moving on this right away, but I think a resolution would definitely be in hand with all of the, you know, what y'all would like to accomplish, because that'll certainly be strong attached to a letter that we send to them, and we'll set up whatever meetings y'all wish to have, and whomever wishes to be there, we'll do that even if we have to go to the Aviation Board meeting or set up a meeting with them at the airport.
You should send a letter to.
We're going to put the letter, start putting the letter together. I just say that a resolution attached to that letter would be a lot stronger.
Okay. Is that it? All right. Councilmember DeNapolis, I'm going to ask you to, are you done? Okay. Never mind. Thank you. I just want to add to that, and first of all, I totally agree that the amount of time that you have to address such cost-prohibitive items has been an unfair amount of time. Plus, the fact that while you're trying to comply, it's just impossible, physically impossible. So I totally agree with that, but I just want to give some background information to, and I'm certain that the cab drivers are totally aware of this, so this is not my position. I just am stating why things are the way they are for whatever council members may or may not be aware. Like Councilmember Black said, we had a committee that met at the airport in the late 90s, early 2000s, that was comprised of 3 members from the city of Kenner, and Councilmember Black, myself, and I think it was Councilmember McCarthy at the time, served on that, with 3 council members from the city of New Orleans and 3 council members from St. Charles Parish. It was when there was a lot of talk about different runways, and we were having certain issues, and honestly, it was a very healthy opportunity for debate on items that had been in our craw for a long time, housing the airport in our own city, and also for St. Charles Parish with the flight patterns affecting some of their areas that they were trying to develop. So it was actually, I'd say, productive in that we had a lot of dialogue, and I learned an awful lot. And one of the things I did learn about was the reason that the city of New Orleans limits who can pick up fares in the city of New Orleans. The city of New Orleans does their permitting of cabs completely different than Jefferson Parish and Kenner, in that they sell these taxi permits, or is that what they're called? Okay. So these licenses, yes. So these licenses are sold, from what I understand, at the tune of $70,000. So people buy them as like a piece of property and then sell them, and so the city of New Orleans, and what they have told us is that they try to do is to protect the integrity of the number of licenses, and that these licenses stay valuable because the people who have purchased them, and the city was a beneficiary of that money, are making money so that it makes sense for these things to be sold. And so anybody else that would be coming into the city of New Orleans is not authorized to pick up in the city of New Orleans, is not licensed to pick up in the city of New Orleans. So therefore, their position is that you'd have no right to do business here because you're not licensed with the city of New Orleans. That's their position. So why it exists is that was their explanation to it. And that is what they absolutely told us at these meetings. And I understand that to some degree, except for the fact that we house the airport, and so therefore their taxi cab drivers have to come into the city, or get to come into the city of Kenner and do business without being licensed within the city of Kenner. But their contention is that that airport property, while within the city limits, is New Orleans city property. Which they don't have to pay taxes on because they're a government entity, but so they are actually doing business on New Orleans property. So just for those who may not understand why the city of New Orleans has taken the position that they have, I can completely understand why they need to protect the integrity of their licensing within their own city limits. Got it. But not when it comes to them coming into the city of Kenner. There's got to be some sort of, it seems like that is a negotiating tool to, we're giving up something, so they should be as well. So just for background information for any council member who didn't understand, we are having the same fight, and we are saying the same things, and we are trying to accomplish the same things that we've been trying to accomplish for as long as I can remember, but that is why the city of New Orleans has taken the position on their, who can do business within their city limits. And, it seems illogical that an empty vehicle a car would bring people into the city of New Orleans, and an empty vehicle would have to drive back just to be able to get another fare. And New Orleans would be able to double up and have a fare each way. It seems illogical that happens, but that's the reason. Okay. Councilmember DeNapolis, could you take off your request again, Councilmember Stagney, and then you can put it back on. Okay. And I'm finished. I was just giving you some background information. Councilmember Stagney.
Thank you, Madam President. Ms. Shaw, under state law, is that where the airport exempts itself from our regulation? Or is that where it gives them the authority to license the drivers at the airport?
Yes, Louisiana Revised Statute 334762 allows.
You sure it's 62? I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Allows the municipality to regulate its private for hire vehicles, and they give a special privilege for those who have a governing, an airport. So that's how they get to regulate the taxi cabs at the airport because of the state law. So that's where we are with that.
Now, as Ms. Brannigan said earlier, though, if Kenner wanted to be very aggressive, we have the authority to regulate them as well, as long as they pass within the borders of our city. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Do they know that?
I think they know it now.
Okay. Okay. Just wanted to make sure, and I appreciate Councilman DeNapolis and Councilwoman DeFrances leading up the charge on this committee, and Councilwoman Black and Women Black and Brannigan for years in the past. But this, as you see now, this has been going on, I thought, since the early 90s. You're telling me since the late 70s, early 80s. You know, we have to make some headway on this, even if we have to figure out maybe even another way within the region to license and regulate these cab drivers. And we certainly should not allow our drivers to be at a disadvantage compared to others. But I appreciate all of y'all's efforts.
Okay, Councilmember DeNapolis, do you want to close? Give me a request so I can give you the floor. There you go.
I think what we have here is we're probably going to suggest, I'm going to suggest to this council that we develop two resolutions, one addressing the time limit on the upgrading of the cabs, because that's the thing that's essential at this point in time. And I think the second resolution, as we all alluded to it, is the old parochial views of how public transportation has been done in the city of New Orleans and Jefferson Parish and Kenner for years and years and years. It's a disjustice. And I can tell you, you know, back when the airport was called New Orleans Airport, they received certain funding. Now that they are considered a regional airport, they get also additional FAA funding. So I don't know where that control at that point can be challenged, or where we can actually interject this airport being considered what it's calling itself, a regional airport, okay? And also, too, we also have another caveat as well. Eric Scametta is checking into his authority as a public service commissioner and able to see here and regulate regional transportation. So I think what we're going to do as a council is develop two different resolutions. One is to address the immediate need, okay, the extension of our cabs upgrading to their requirements in order to be able to drive on the airport, okay? And secondly would be actually sitting down and setting a resolution as to sit here and trying to get these old parochial views behind us and understand that this airport is a regional airport, not just New Orleans Airport. And you're right, Councilman Stagney, it is in the city of Kenner, and they do cross city of Kenner lines to get there, okay? And I know we've made that mention to them several times in the meetings. So I think that what we'll do is we'll continue as the Taxi Cab Committee, make these challenges forward and try to conduct and get some open dialogue and really get this solved once and for all. It just needs to happen if this city wants to conduct itself as a dynamic destination place. It's got to consider itself, it's not Mayberry anymore, okay? This is this is a city, and this is a regional airport, and that it has a multitude of interests to everybody that serves this airport, and that's what we need to address. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Bigger than regional, international airport. So, okay, Madam Clerk.
One more thing I wanted to mention. One more thing, and my colleague here is that we're Councilwoman DeFrances and myself are already setting up appointments and meetings with each individual council person over there to start getting their views and their impact and question them why they're taking these stances and things. So we'll actually be doing that as the Taxi Cab Committee, and we'll get our findings back to the council. Thank you.
Okay. Council Clerk.
Yes, ma'am. The consent agenda this evening, we have item 1, approval of minutes, the regular council meeting of November 1st, 2012. Item 2 is approval of alcohol beverage permit applications. We have none. Item 3 is approval of bingo and public gathering applications. We have item 3A, application number 172212, the City of Kenner to hold a public gathering for a Christmas Village on November 30th, 2012, December 1st, 2nd, 7th, 8th, 9th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 21st, and 22nd of 2012 from 5:30 to 8:30 at Kenner Heritage Park. Item 4 is correspondence and reports from the mayor, CAO, or department heads. We have none. Item 5C is acceptance and rejection of bids requiring an expenditure of less than $5,000. Item 5A is a resolution accepting the responsive bid received from Assured Comfort Conditioning and Heating, LLC, in the amount of $3,043 to furnish and install and repair HVAC system-related products for improved operation for Fire Station Number 38 in accordance with telephone bid number T12-1941 for the Department of Public Works. Item 6 is change orders requiring an expenditure of less than $5,000. We have none. Item 7 is acceptance of committee findings for final passage. We have none. Item 8 is re-subdivision of ordinances for final passage. We have none.
Motion by Councilmember Black, second by Councilmember Brannigan on consent. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Under the public appearance agenda, we have item 9 for public hearings for final passage. Item 9A is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 11,380. An ordinance creating a Board of Standards and Appeals for the City of Kenner, designating the powers and duties of the board, establishing the membership thereof, and enacting and amending sections 5-81 and 13-52 of the Kenner Code of Ordinances. Madam Chairman, this evening we received a request for Councilman Reyno for a 2-meeting deferral.
Motion by Councilmember Reyno, second by Councilmember Stagney for a 2-meeting deferral. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0 for a 2-meeting deferral. Item 9B is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 11,420. An ordinance approving the sale of a portion of unimproved Georgia Avenue located in Square 413 Highway Park Subdivision, which said property is owned by the City of Kenner.
Motion by Councilmember Stagney, second by Councilmember Black for a 1-meeting deferral. Is that correct, Council Clerk?
Yes, ma'am.
Council members, please vote.
One vote pending.
One vote. Everybody check.
One vote. Wait, no. Hit your button again.
Got to be
Council.
flashing green.
One more button.
Not flashing green. Please vote. Okay.
Council Chairman, motion passes 7-0 for a 1-meeting deferral. Item 9C is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 11,425, an ordinance amending the budget and accepting the award of fiscal year 2012 Emergency Solutions Grant, ESG, from the State of Louisiana, Department of Children's and Family Services, and the amount of $51,500 for the Department of Community Development.
Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Stagney to open public hearing. Council members, please vote. One
Councilman
vote.
Carroll? You voted? Motion passes 7-0 to open your hearing.
We're now in a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 11,425. If there is anyone in the audience wishing to address the council on this subject matter, please come forward now. Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Stagney to close public hearing. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
Very good. Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Stagney. Seeing no discussion, Councilmember Stagney.
Thank you, Madam President. Ms. Terrell. Tell us a little bit about this grant, please.
Yes, this is a grant, it's a discretionary grant that we apply for annually through the State of Louisiana Department of Health, Children and Family Services, and it provides funding for us to assist with emergency housing for fire victims in the city, homeless prevention measures such as helping persons that are about to be evicted and becoming homeless, as well as those that's homeless, and providing funding for us to maintain emergency shelters.
Very good. Let me ask you this. The budget that we have listed here, is that the same budget that we provided as part of the grant application? We have a budget listed under Section 2.
Oh, okay.
As far as revenues that we're receiving in from the grant, about $51,000. It's broken down into several categories. Is that the same budget that we submitted to the state to get this grant?
I always ask for like 3 times more than I'm awarded, but sometimes we get lucky, but no. We submitted an application for $180,000, and we were awarded the 51.
51. What part of the application was broken down for salaries versus expenditures into the community? You remember?
You're limited by the grant regulations to 33%.
Okay.
So you
it's
cannot
good that
exceed
ours is at least just under 10% then?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I was getting at.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam President.
Okay, seeing no further discussion, council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 9D is a public hearing regarding resolution number B 16313, a resolution authorizing the City Council for the City of Kenner to hold a public hearing on Thursday, November 15, 2012, to determine whether or not the buildings located at 3045 Tupelo Street, Kenner, Louisiana, should not be repaired or demolished. Madam Chairman, we've received a request to defer this item for one meeting this evening.
Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Black for one meeting deferral. Council members, please vote. I'm sorry, on deferral? You want to speak on deferral? Would you clear, I see that we have votes pending, so clear the.
It's okay, go ahead. He
Clear?
can go ahead and speak if you want.
All right, let me, well, we'd have to open public hearing, allow public hearing, close public hearing, open it up, and then, okay.
Go ahead.
You want to speak on deferral, and I'll be very generous? How's that? Let me give you a mic. There you go.
Thank you, Madam President. We are going to defer this, but I would like for the Attorney Simon to come up, just to give a little brief information on this. This isn't something that we're skirting by and just trying to pass along, but there's a little information I think is important for us to be able to speak for this particular project.
Good evening. My name is Latoya Simons, 8932 West Metairie Avenue, and I'm the curator for 3045 Tupelo Street. And this property was actually a family home that the two owners, Martha Harris and Beverly Davis, received after their parents passed away. Before Katrina, it was rental property, and it was damaged in Katrina, and the family has been in a long battle with Road Home, because actually both of the property owners are not Louisiana residents, they're out-of-state residents, and because the property was not their primary home, Road Home fought with them as far as any funds. And it wasn't until last month that they faxed me a letter that they received, and it was dated last month, that there actually was, Road Home has a commitment letter agreeing to pay them $69,000 to repair the home. And it would be beneficial if, unfortunately, Road Home is taking so long, it would be beneficial if the $69,000 was put into to repair this home, so that would be rental property here for the city of Kenner. Also, because they're out of town, there's one family member who's in town who's also an attorney, Michael Harris, which is the son of one of the property owners. And I spoke with him, and I had prepared to just kind of reiterate some of the things he said, but I'm glad that the council member Carol was allowed him to have a one meeting deferral, because unfortunately he wasn't able to, he had a conflict, he wasn't able to come here at this meeting, but he would be here at the next meeting as far as to show as far as when they get those funds and the timeline to get that property repaired. So we're hoping to have, for once, to have a happy resolution to this.
I'm so glad you brought that around, that you were speaking to why this would be a good idea to defer it.
I'm sorry.
No, you did great.
Yeah, she always does. And you know, just to make another note before I close on it, I like Attorney Shaw to also speak on behalf of the city, because we are a family-originated city, and I want her to speak to the fact that we have gone through a process for a number of years, and I would like for her to address that in a couple of
As to why that would be a good idea to defer this.
And also to give the city's position that we are, you know, we're being aggressive with our commitment to the citizens of our city.
Because our curator has notified.
Make his point and my point.
Okay, because the curator has notified us as an attorney who could not be here, we were amenable to this being deferred for a meeting so they can come and give understanding that some funds are coming, but we wanted the citizens of Lincoln Manor to know that we are ready to work with them, but we must move forward. We have lots of money owed to the city because we've been maintaining this property since Katrina. Currently, we've owed $16,000. So we want to make sure that they understand that before they come for the next meeting, but we are amenable to the deferral at this time.
Thank you, Attorney Shaw. And stating that the attorney who is representing this family should have been here at this meeting. It was not good on his behalf to fax or to email a letter a day before we were going to rule on this. He could have came to the meeting to be able to speak for the family on behalf as the attorney. He did not do that. And he kind of put us in a position because, you know, Attorney Simon does a lot of hard work to do this. The code department does a whole lot of work. And if our priority first to the safety within our community, always. So he should have been here to address that. There are a lot of holes in this that needs to be addressed. But we are going to be moving forward with this to ensure that for the community, the safety. Now, I understand there are some concerns about Road Home, and probably half of the people in here have had issues or concern with Road Homes. But it does not give away the fact that the property has not been kept up. This is something that has been in the family for over 30 years. So Road Home had nothing to do with that. It is still their responsibility to upkeep the property, and they did not do that. So we understand about people being out of town, but it's still their responsibility for the people who live here, because we don't want to live around things that's not safe and an eyesore. So we will give it one meeting deferral. Hopefully, Attorney Simon will have an opportunity to answer some of our questions that we have for it and to be able to move forward. If the questions aren't answered satisfactory to us, then we will proceed accordingly. Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Attorney.
Thank you, Council.
Okay, seeing no further discussion, council members, please vote for a one-meeting deferral.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 10 is opening of bids. We have none. Item 11 is reclassification of zoning for final passage. We have none. Item 12 is other ordinances for final passage. Item 12A is summary ordinance number 11,423, an ordinance amending section 3-24C of the Kenner City Code of Ordinances to exclude immovable property, buildings, and facilities situated in the Rivertown Historical District from the location and physical requirements provision for issuance of an alcoholic beverage permit.
Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Black. Seeing no discussion, council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 12B, summary ordinance number 11,424, an ordinance authorizing the City of Kenner to hold a public auction on December 13th, 2012 to sell surplus movable property no longer needed for public purposes and setting the terms and disposition of proceeds from the auction.
Motion by Councilmember Black, second by Councilmember Brannigan. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 13 is resolutions and motions by council members. Item 13A is a resolution requesting that the mayor appoint the city attorney and the director of the Department of Inspection and Code Enforcement to review cases relative to code enforcement violations pending before mayor's court to determine which cases may fall within the purview of the Board of Standards and Appeals for the City of Kenner. Madam Chairman, we've received a request this evening from Attorney Shaw to defer this item for 2 meetings.
Motion by Councilmember DeNapolis, second by Councilmember Stagney for a 2-meeting deferral. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 13B is a resolution providing for canvassing the returns and declaring the results of the special election held in the city of Kenner, state of Louisiana, on Tuesday, November 6, 2012, to authorize amendments to the city of Kenner Home Rule Charter.
Motion by Councilmember Black, second by Councilmember Stagney. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 14 is items removed from the consent agenda.
We have none.
Item 15 is acceptance of contracts and similar matters approved by the mayor. Item 15A is summary ordinance number 11,421, an ordinance ratifying an emergency repair in the amount of $78,063.60 for the removal of the existing vinyl gym flooring and installation of a new modular athletic gym floor at Susan Park Gym located at 502 Veterans Boulevard by Sports Court South for the Kenner Department of Parks and Recreation.
Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Black. Councilmember Carroll.
Thank you, Madam President. First, I would like to thank the Recreation Department, because if you had not had the opportunity, Mr. Maricoli, could you step to the mic, please, sir? If you haven't had an opportunity to see the Susan Park Gym with the renovations that they are right now and that will be throughout the city of Kenner recreation facilities, you are missing something, because it has turned out to be a fantastic facility, just like all the rest of our 10 of our gyms will be. So this is something for hard work from the administration, from the director, to be able to go out and to see how other people are doing things, to be able to bring back ideas. You know, imitation is the highest form of flattery, to be able to come back and for us to get ideas and to exceed even the people we got the ideas from. So I'd like to thank the Recreation Department. Thank you, Mr. Maricoli, for what you've done. And if you could just please address, as far as, we don't have any pictures, but just to tell what type of a floor it is and how are we going to proceed throughout the rest of the Recreation Department facilities.
All right, basically what the floor is it's a modular floor. And what it does is it takes the place of the vinyl tile, and it has actually a wood grain look, and it just really dresses up the facility. The floor, we took up the vinyl tile that was existing in there, put down a rubber matting, and then put this floor on top of it. It's a plastic composite. The bounces for the balls are true. There's a lot of benefits to this. This was actually part of the hazard mitigation from FEMA. And what this does is this allows us to more or less have a floor that if we have any issues with rain, flood waters or rain or anything like that, this floor is designed to actually float up with the water. Once the water recedes, you take it out, clean it off, put it back down. The only thing you may have to do is replace the rubber matting underneath. So this is, it's guaranteed for 15 years. It is some technology that's used by USA Volleyball, NCAA Volleyball. It's endorsed by the FIBA, Federal Basketball, so I can't remember what it is, but it's basically the governing body of basketball. So this is it's a floor that is used in many, many applications, and it's multi-purpose. It's going to do perfect for what we need in the recreation department.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but we did have Hurricane Katrina, which was, wasn't a good thing for us here in Louisiana. But because of that, all of our facilities will have these new floors, and they will be paid through the money that we receive from the response to Hurricane Katrina repairs?
Not every floor has been allocated, but the majority, there's still 2 or 3 floors that they have to still review. But basically, out of the gyms, we have 6 that have been totally approved for the hazard mitigation. We have 1 that's been approved for replacing the floor. However, they didn't use the hazard mitigation, so we're working on that one to make the 7th one. And then 2 other gyms are being reviewed to see if we qualify it to be the hazard mitigation. But ultimately, our goal is to make every gym floor exactly the same. So whether we get, as we speak, as we said, 7 gyms will be replaced with FEMA money. The benefit of this floor is it's very cost effective. So it's something that even if we had to do it ourselves, it would be affordable and well worth, lessens the maintenance that we have, and the cost of the floor over the lifespan is greatly lessened, even over the vinyl tile. So it really is a nice floor. We will be having a ribbon cutting so that everybody can go out there and see, but it's amazing. That we actually have it designed as a parquet floor in there, and it really, really brightens the gym. And again, we're really proud to have this type of floor going.
Right. And for any basketball fans, can kind of picture the Boston Garden of the old. This is the effect that you will get if you when you go there to see it. This is just one of the renovations for Susan Park. They'll be having a new roof. The lights in the on the playground will be changed. We talked about the padding last week. So these are a number of changes that our recreation department that has, it's kind of antiquated. It's been a number of years. We got our best as we could out of the things, but things are going to be improved, removed, added, and we look forward to all of the changes. We look forward to the ribbon cutting, and we will be passing on the date. Won't we schedule another day for that?
But just to finish one of your questions that you asked before, the process will be right after basketball season. Actually, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be putting out the advertisement for the next set of floors, which would be the additional 5 gyms. And then as soon as basketball season ends, the time frame will lend to us to be able to start the additional flooring. We're hoping to come to the council with the new flooring once the bids open and everything. Probably either the late January or the meetings in February, which will put us right in that time frame of basketball ending. And then the best part about this was the amount of downtime that we had. Once they started the job by pulling up the vinyl tile in the facility, it actually took, they started on Monday. By Saturday evening, the entire gym was complete, painted, and everything else. We waited till the following Wednesday to let the paint cure. So the downtime when we start doing the renovations will not be excessive to any facility. So that is an added bonus to this type of floor as well.
Okay, thank you. And I'm sure the families and the children will enjoy it and look forward to the rest of the facilities. Thank you. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilmember Carroll. Councilmember DeNapolis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I do know that Wentwood is probably one of the early ones that need to be done as well with the same process. And once again, to let the taxpayers know that this is being done with FEMA money from our work project reports, and just like the concession stand out at Wentwood, that was also paid with by federal dollars. And I can't wait to see all of our gyms upgraded. But I do know that the Wentwood gym is in dire need as well.
For the longest time, that was supposed to be the first one until Hurricane Isaac, and then that changed.
I deferred to my councilman at large, Gregory Carroll, and so anyway, I was fine.
But you'll be next.
It's going to be next, right? That's all I need to know. Thank you.
District C. Councilmember Stagney.
Thank you, Madam President. Well, anyway, Mr. Carroll, Mr. DeNapolis said that's his district too, so it didn't matter. Now, that's hazard mitigation money, right? Who helps the city of Kenner? I never miss an opportunity to say this, along with yourself and a lot of the public works projects that we have coming in. Who's the guy with the city who helps us to get this money for our facilities?
The person that's been the most instrumental with helping us get all this is Mike Gaffney, who basically has done all the legal work dealing with FEMA, trying to get into the opportunities. It's funny. He goes in there and deals with them, and the approach he has and brings to them, he really presents a stellar case for the city. And without his help, we would have definitely not had a lot of the hazard mitigation projects that we did get. That would have never happened for us.
I just talked to some people from the Green Lawn Playground, and I mentioned to them over several years we've done about $600,000 there. Butch Dewey, throughout the whole city. What would you say is an approximate ballpark figure that we are going to spend in recreation to transform our playgrounds and parks from the hazard mitigation money that Mr. Gaffney has helped us to get?
Very conservatively would be probably $2.5–3 million.
Yeah.
Considering the lighting that comes into play there, the flooring that's involved, several other projects. There's still projects that we're in negotiations with FEMA. So I would say conservatively about $2.5 million.
I've tried to tell our recreation parents that would have taken 2 or 3 decades to do, and by luck, even though we went through a very terrible time during Katrina, we've had some of you all on the forefront getting this money, and it will transform our parks and playgrounds for our children. So I'm very excited about that. By the way, it was FIBA, F-I-B-A. It's the International Basketball Federation. That doesn't stand for FIBA. It's a foreign language that they use, but that's the governing body. And it's called Sport Court. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And I apologize for drawing a blank on that. I just...
That's okay.
We deal
Great
with it.
job.
It's
We
just-
appreciate all the work. Thanks.
Okay, Mr. Miracoli, the surface, because we were supposed to have the ribbon cutting, but we had to postpone it, so I have not seen the surface yet. Is it a rubberized surface? Is it more of a wood type surface? Is it?
It's actually the material is like a plastic type material, but the appearance is a wood grain appearance on there. There's basically like a film that's burned into this plastic, and then it has a lacquer finish.
Like laminate.
It's a little bit different. It's not like a laminate with the composite wood that you would put with a laminate floor. This is actually a plastic. When you turn it over and you see inside,
Right.
it's a plastic. It's very durable.
Okay. Because, one of I'm wondering how this type of flooring will put us to get different types of events. I know for the longest amount of time, we got a lot of basketball events with the overflow at the Pontchartrain Center, and the overflow being at Galatas and Bertolino because of the wood floors. So I wondered if this type of surface is something that's sought after, or if it's just that it's affordable or durable, or why are we choosing this type of surface?
Well, there's several reasons to that, and we do believe it's going to assist us in getting additional events and different things into the city. Again, it is recommended by several high, profile sporting groups, including the group that governs all of basketball, all of volleyball, and the different things that way. The good thing about this is that there's a lot of safety features to this that other floors don't offer, which is really a benefit to the kids that are playing on there, including if we bring in these tournaments and things to that nature. The floor gives just slightly enough to where it's not, if your typical injuries come from when you don't have any give and you step down and the knee twists in a certain way. This floor is designed to absorb some of that shock and the
because
things
of
that
the
go in
padding
there.
and
The padding and the way that the design is and how much it gives
it
just
floats
slightly.
a little.
You couldn't, if you walked on it or stopped on it, you wouldn't feel it, but ever so slightly it gives a little bit to do that. So the safety of this floor, we've looked at many different floorings before we decided to choose this floor. Again, this floor is used, if you want to look at the NCAA, they use it for all of their championship games in volleyball throughout, the sport. So there was a lot of benefits and a lot of things, and I definitely think this will help us attract new events here, probably more so. It definitely will be better than what the vinyl tile floors had at our facility.
But what about the wood? I just don't, are we going to keep the wood at Galatas and Berlin?
The problem we have with the wood is twofold. Number one, obviously,
Costly to redo.
It's very costly to redo, but you also have a lifespan on those,
Right.
being able to redo those.
Right.
we have redone those floors on several occasions. And every time, basically what you're doing is you're sanding off the layers. And so what's happening is what the floor might have started at, say, 3/4 of an inch. And now it may be down to 1/4 of an inch. So ultimately, we would have to replace this in the very near future anyway. So whether we replace it with this type of material, or if we ever did go back with something like a wooden floor, those two floors will have to be replaced very soon because of the amount of times that we've sanded them down and refinished them.
But forgive my ignorance, but the reason that people use those gyms more often because of the wood floors, was that because they were safer than the tile floors, or was it because the ball bounce was different, like a Rubico and a concrete tennis surface?
It's the biggest thing is a lot of these groups look at the vinyl tile floors compared to a wooden floor. It's like night and day. You look at a wooden floor, it's the appearance, it's a lot of the factors that come into play with that. It is safer than the vinyl because obviously the vinyl tile is directly glued straight to the cement. Right. Where with the wooden floor, it's obviously a little thicker. It has a little bit in there. These floors that we're going to, we believe, will actually be even more of an attraction because of the different safety features that come into play with that. Okay. And we do feel that this will be a benefit. You know, it's a lot of it is appearance, you know, when you start talking to this, and some of it with the AAU, you know, had in the past that they had some different things. But they've had numerous, I should say, tournaments, AAU, on the sport court type floor, and they've had no complaints and no problems. Okay. So we believe that this will be a huge enhancement, especially to the floors that were vinyl tile. I mean, again,
right.
This is night and day.
Oh, no comparison.
Compared to
well, I just want to make sure that if we're investing in our floors, that we're doing something that's going to be sought after in terms of being able to attract events. Because I know Berlino and Galatas were the two. We'd always have to face the parents as to why the gyms weren't available, but it's because we attracted some really great events that insisted that they use those gyms. That was the deal maker. And we believe that this will change that from being only able to utilize two to now being able to utilize any gym that we have with this. Because again, the technology in this and the flooring types and the things that we have, and everything that we've heard, we've researched, the things we've done has been nothing but positive. And now this is the gym where we had the tiles that had the asbestos? No. This gym actually, what happened in this gym was when the flooring, when it got wet through Katrina, obviously water got into the floor and it sat on there. And then after Isaac, we had some additional water in there. Lincoln. So what was happening was that as we would walk on a tile, if somebody would turn or move right, that was Lincoln. Now I remember. Yeah, the Lincoln is the one that we're concerned with the asbestos on. Correct. And where are we with that? We finished the flooring upstairs. That was actually completed several months ago. And now, when we do the replacement of the floor at Lincoln, we have to take the mitigation steps to mitigate that right. the asbestos. Okay. So that will actually be when we do the new floors. That Lincoln Gym is one of the floors that are in this group, okay. And that will come into play when we remove that. It will be. We will take all precautions that are necessary by all the the groups that calls. And we'll follow all the guidelines for that. And FEMA will pay for the mitigation of that? Because that's the expensive part of changing. Okay. All right. Seeing no further discussion, council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15B, summary ordinance number 11,422. An ordinance accepting the responsibility received from Southland Plumbing Supply Incorporated in the amount of $5,577.50 to furnish 2 outdoor tubular bottle filling stations with a water fountain in accordance with telephone bid number T12-1931 for the Kenner Department of Parks and Recreation.
Motion by Councilmember Stagney, second by Councilmember DeFrancis. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15C is summary ordinance number 11,423. $430. An ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Metal Graphics Incorporated in the amount of $12,000 to fabricate and install a historical signage wall in the City of Kenner Council Chambers.
Motion by Councilmember Black, second by Councilmember Stagney. Mr. Quigley, you want to, well, first of all, Ms. Black, did you want to open? Okay. Mr. Quigley?
Yes, I'd like to at least advise the council that that although this is an acceptance of the bid, we want to advise you that this is actually going to be paid from other sources. The primary source, it's a $12,000 wall that will be placed on the wall over here. I guess that's the north wall. The north wall of the chamber, which is wall where these plaques will be. The bid came in at $12,000. $10,000 will be paid for by the Jefferson Parish Historic Commission. And what I like to emphasize to you is that the Historic Commission is a quasi-governmental agency that was established by Jefferson Parish at least 28 years ago. The commissioners are appointed by the Jefferson Parish Council. For the past 28 years, the parish has been giving the commission $15,000 to essentially help them to operate. But the commission does make money, or they collect dues. They also sell historical books to libraries. So they have their own source of funding. That funding is commingled, but they do give grants. And due to the fact that they are a quasi-government agency, that when they do give grants, that the Jefferson Parish Council does have oversight of it and approves the grants that they get. But as I said, I want to emphasize the fact that there's been some discussion about whether it's public money, but they do raise money. The mission of the Jefferson Historical Society is, or the commission is, to have a permanent record of the history of Jefferson Parish. And by putting the leaders of our city, whether it be the marshals or the police chiefs, the aldermen or the councilmen or the former mayors, is a way to permanently memorialize, permanently keep this history intact. So they've graciously decided that they will give us a grant of $10,000. We got $5,000 last year, and we're getting $5,000 now. We just got another intergovernmental agreement that we'll sign that will allocate the other $5,000. So $10,000 will be allocated. Unfortunately, the bid came in at 12, so the Kenner City Events has graciously agreed, the board members of Kenner City Events has agreed to pay the balance, which is just $2,000. So this whole thing will be fully funded. It won't come out of any Kenner taxpayer money, and you can make a case that it's not even coming out any taxpayers' money because the Historic Commission does make money on their own. So the $15,000 they get from the parish is essentially for operations. So we feel this is an opportunity that we're grateful for and we can't pass up, and it'll memorialize the history of our great city. So we ask your support in regard to this low bid. Thank you.
Mr. Brown, did you want to speak?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam President. Richard Brown, 824 Sessions Lane, Kenner, Louisiana. What I have to say may surprise some of you, but I do not have a problem with this plaque or wall, at least in concept. I have some issues with the funding. I know that most of the money is coming from the Jefferson Parish Historical Commission. The fact that some of that is public money does cause me some concern, and as Mr. Quigley said, the Parish Council had to vote to approve it. But I'm probably more concerned with the last $2,000 that is coming from Kenner City Events. And I could be wrong on this, and if so, I wish to be corrected. But it's my understanding that the purpose of Kenner City Events is to promote events in Lake Town, and that their money, their funds, or their surplus is supposed to be used to promote Lake Town and also the Kenner Food Bank. And it seems to me, unless I'm missing something, and I'm sure if I am, someone will correct me, that a donation of this sort for a memorial plaque for the city is outside their purpose and outside what they're supposed to be contributing funding to. I would hope that all of the funding for something like this could come from private sources. I do understand the purpose of it. I'm one of these individuals who very much enjoys walking around City Hall in the hallway and the foyer out front, looking at the old photographs from the early 1900s, even the 1800s, looking at the pictures of the former mayors and the former city council members that go back, Jeannie, to 1913 or so? I believe they. Well, I figured you've got the most seniority, but I know you're not in the 1913 pictures. And so I do understand the reasons for having something like this, but I do have some concerns about the funding, particularly the money that's coming from the Kenner City events. Thank you.
Thank you.
I do hope someone can address that.
I can address that if you don't mind.
It's okay.
Okay. I have a copy of the bylaws of Kenner City Events Incorporated, and under Section 2, it says specific objectives and purposes. The specific objectives and purposes of this corporation, again, this is Kenner City Events, shall be as follows. This corporation is organized and it should be operated exclusively for educational, civic, and charitable purposes, including, but not limited, to the promotion of events and projects that enhance the growth and image of the city of Kenner, raising of funds for civic beautification, planting and maintenance of trees, shrubberies, and plants, and support of projects for the disadvantaged and disabled in the community, and the support of cultural, education, and recreation activities and projects which enhance the quality of life for all Kenner residents, and the making of distributions to organizations that qualify as exempt organizations under Section 501c3 of the Internal Revenue Code of 1954. So I think the specific objectives of Kenner City Events certainly allows them to donate money to the city for such a educational and pursuit and a project. So we feel that, no doubt, again, we're glad that the members of Kenner City Events have granted this to us, and certainly it's within their purview of their bylaws to do so.
Thank you, Mr. Quigley.
Thank you. Councilmember Stagney.
Thank you, Madam President. The sole purpose of the Jefferson Historical Society of Louisiana is to place markers and monuments throughout our parish. I got off their website almost 40 different markers, monuments, and we only had 2, I think, in the city of Kenner, some many years ago. This is no money that comes out of Kenner's budget. It's a grant or contribution, and that is their sole purpose. It seems to me a little unreasonable not to accept that. I use the analogy, and I had some friends of mine come up to me not too long ago saying, you need to not take CDBG money because they don't think taxpayer money should be used in that way. I don't think you can do that unless you get it taken care of at another level. So far as this is concerned, Kenner, out of our budget, is not paying a single cent. We've commented how nice the chambers look. I think this would only enhance that. And if their sole purpose is to put markers and monuments throughout our parish, if we didn't take it, somebody else would. And if there's some 38 other monuments and markers everywhere else in the parish, it makes sense to me that the largest city in the parish of Jefferson should not give this money back. I'm going to vote for this. I think it's good for our city. I know there's been some inference in the Times-Picayune that maybe public money is being wasted. I've had friends call me saying, you know, because some people have gotten in trouble, maybe they shouldn't be on the wall. And I think, you know, you can't practice revisionist history. Our presidents in this country, when you talk about presidents, President Nixon is mentioned. President Clinton was impeached, but their names are on the historical documents of our country. And those people who served this city, who were elected by our citizens should be included here in this chambers, especially if we can do it without any Kenner taxpayer money coming out of our budget. I had another point to make, but I can't remember what it was. I'll give up the mic now, but I may ask somebody for a point of information. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay. Councilmember Reyno.
Thank you, Madam President. Initially, I was not in favor of this, but once I got all of the information and I understand that this is the only thing that we can use the money for, it's dedicated just strictly for this, and if we don't use it, we have to, you know, just pass on it, and somebody else is going to get it. So as it stands right now, I'm going to vote for this. Thank you.
Councilmember DeNapolis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I can tell you when I received a call about spending $12,000, of course the call was, you know, the preface of the call was a little incorrect, that we were spending $12,000 of taxpayer monies to this wall. My immediate response was, well, obviously I'm not going to be voting for something that's spending $12,000 of taxpayers' money. But also what had some concern was where was the additional $2,000 coming from? And of course this administration has answered that question, where the additional $2,000 is coming from. And Mr. Quigley has obviously answered the question whether or not they could spend it, and it does say in their bylaws for educational and cultural uses in the city of Kenner. So I'm going to be voting for this, and I can tell you Frank Bourne, who actually really is the one who motivates and generates the activity for the Jefferson Historical Society, is a fine man. He's I mean, just a wealth of knowledge. And I don't know if you ever read his book. It's incredible to read about the history and how politics developed in Jefferson Parish. So I'm definitely going to be voting for this, but I'd like to put an amendment on the floor at this time to change the the fifth whereas, and change that whereas $10,000 of this project is funded through the grants received by the Jefferson Parish Historical Commission, and $2,000 will be coming from Kenner City events. With that, I'm very comfortable in voting for it, so I'd like to put that amendment on the floor to the council.
I think Mr. Francis got you on that one. Okay.
Okay.
Motion, she's usually pretty quick. Motion by Councilmember DeNapolis, second by Councilmember DeFrancis, to change the wording to reflect $10,000 and the funding source, and the $2,000 and its funding source.
That would be simply to add a fifth whereas, am I correct?
Or no, change the fourth
Change
whereas.
the fourth whereas.
Change the fourth whereas.
Yeah, that whereas $10,000 is funded
By the
through
Jefferson Historical-
Parish Historical Commission, and $2,000 from Kenner City events. The fifth whereas, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4,
No.
5. You're right.
Okay. Okay, so everybody understands the amendment? Okay, on the amendment, wait, give me 1 second to jot everybody down, because we've got to mess the board up for a second. DeFrancis, Carroll. And I'll ask you to put your lights back on in this order in just a moment, so let me clear the floor so we can vote. Okay, on the amendment, council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0 to amend.
Councilmember DeNapolis, are you finished? If not, no. Okay, then put your light on, please. Just put your,
Okay.
okay. 1 second. Can you clear the board so I can get the, Councilmember DeNapolis, if you put your request to speak, Councilmember Black now, please, and then Councilmember DeFrancis, and then Councilmember Carroll. Oh, Councilmember Carroll, take yours off. Now you can put it. Perfect. Okay, Councilmember DeNapolis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I can tell you, I know all of us here, when we visit other cities and walk through and look at buildings and look at things, we always read those historical markers. I mean, I actually stop on the side of the road and get out with my family and read about where the civil battle was, and they have these markers. So this is very interesting, and it is our history. It is our heritage. It's what, you know, has made Kenner where it is today. And all it is just having a record of it out there. And that is the mission of the Jefferson the Jefferson Historical Society. And, you know, it would be quite embarrassing if we as a city didn't accept this grant. So I'm going to be voting for this. And once again, it's just something that's going to enhance these halls. And once again, as you can see, our chambers are full of history, and this is just going to memorialize that history just as much. So I'll be voting for this. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Black.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. You know, I'm a little offended because we should be bragging about something like this instead of having to defend it. And we should be proud of the fact that the Jefferson Historical Society has offered to do this for us, and that the Kenner City Events Board has offered to help do this for our city. We didn't go after them, they came after us. And because of misinformation on the internet, they need to be slapped on the hand for not printing the exact story, the whole piece of legislation. Things got blown out of context, and so we're having to defend something that we should be proud of and that we should be bragging about. So, of course, I'm going to vote for this. I think it's a memorable thing for our city, and we should be very, very proud that Jefferson Historical Society and the Kenner Events are honoring us in this way in these chambers. So thank you very much.
Councilmember DeFrancis.
Thank you, Council President. I actually spoke to Mr. Bourne, Frank Bourne, the other night. He was at the Pachyderm Club, and I had been asked to attend. And he asked me about whether or not this legislation was going to pass. And I was very honest with him because there were many councilmen who had a lot of misgivings. And I asked him about it, and he indicated to me again that the Historical Society was paying the bulk of it, and that Kenner, in some manner, would have to pick up the other $2,000. And when he said that, I did have some qualms as well, because I didn't want it to come out from our budget. But once we were able to determine that the people of Kenner, per se, would not be paying a single penny from the budget that helps us run this city, once we learned that Kenner Events would be picking up the additional revenue, there was no question that this was something very, very good for the city of Kenner. And let me make a second point. This is not a monument to anyone. It is not a tribute to anyone. This is simply a historical record of this city through its elected officials. A historical record. We talk about the educational purpose, it's there. We talk about civic, it's there. It tells us about the city. Too often, no one knows the historical record of a city. You ask many students today, they have no idea what it is. This is a way of making sure that there's a record available so that those who are interested have a way of getting that information. And I think it's valuable information. Remember, we have to learn from the mistakes of the past as well as the successes of the past. And when you look at that wall, you're going to know both. I'm sure you're going to realize both. And that's what it should be about, a learning experience for all of us. And again, this is something so positive, and it would have been a slap in the face, in my opinion, to Mr. Bourne and the Historical Society, who spent so much time and effort in determining who would be getting this grant, well, this monetary amount, and in addition to determining that, putting the time and effort to put this information together for us. And so again, I will be voting for this, and I think it's going to be a really positive thing for this city to have this record available for everyone to see. Thank you.
Councilmember Carroll.
Thank you, Madam President. And just to echo everyone, I will be supporting this also. I think it is something important for the city of Kenner. I am kind of a history nerd. I like to watch it on the television as opposed to the reality shows. So I like history. I also want to state that Councilman Stagdy and I had the opportunity to bring some of the high school students in the council chambers last year to be able to sit around in the seats, to be able to look at the pictures. And I got to tell you that they were fixated with the pictures. You know, they say a picture is 1,000 words. For them to be able to go to each individual picture to read it, to see. A lot of the children from the District 1, all of them from District 1 actually, to be able to see it. And I think now with this historic tribute, it will actually show all of the people within the city of Kenner, every race, every gender, they will be able to see and have this as a identity and to have pride in knowing that their ancestors were part of the city of Kenner's history, and to give them an opportunity to think maybe beyond that, possibly that they can also one day do something that will be historical for the city of Kenner. So in that aspect alone, I understand the financial end of it. We always want to be stewards of our monies, and it's a good thing that the monies are coming from another source. But how do you put a price on the history of the city of Kenner? I don't know how you do that, and I would never try to do that. I think we are important enough that any dollar amount that we have to spend to ensure that the longevity of the people who came before us will always be here, and for the people who come after us will have that. So I think this is a fantastic idea. Again, I will be supporting it, and I look forward to the development of it and be able to bring other children into the facility to show them that this is your city, this is your history, and you have something to aspire to. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilmember Carroll. Very well said. From the perspective of a younger person, a student of not just in school, but a student of history or a student, anybody with any sort of curiosity. But it's much more meaningful knowing that from a child's perspective, that it's a meaningful thing to have. When I first saw this, was actually. And look, we don't normally read over what's on first reading. When we hear what's on first reading tonight, we usually just wait and read about what the legislation is going to accomplish and start looking into it for the next meeting. We don't necessarily at the meetings look at it. But for whatever reason, that one piece of legislation caught my eye, and I turned to Councilmember Black and I said, can you believe this? I mean, this is ridiculous. How much money are we going to spend? Blah, 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 blah. And because it was just the top of the legislation. And it's, regardless of what anybody thinks, it's kind of embarrassing to think that, people would think that we would want to present our pictures and have a monument made for ourselves because we think so highly of ourselves. I mean, sometimes it's rather awkward the amount of times that we are displayed or put on display or in pictures and that are and not that I wouldn't want to be a part of that. I am so proud to have been a part. Jeannie loves it, but so proud to have been a part of everything that I've been able, had the opportunity to participate in the city of Kenner. But honestly, we're not jumping in front of the photographer hoping to get in more pictures than anybody else so that they can be on display. I mean, we want our place in history. We want to, well, maybe you do that too. We want our place in history because, we care about the work that we've done, but this is nothing that we would have ever in our own minds come up with to do to honor ourselves. So we were all, I think, every single one of us when we first read it, without knowing who was behind it and what it was actually going to represent, was a little embarrassing. But, I think I'm very thankful for people like Mr. Bourne, who, if you do not know his life's work, it is, sometimes he's a little boring to talk to because his mind is just filled with so much history of the parish of Jefferson, and he's very proud of the things he's done, and he should be, because he has archived and recorded so much history that I'm not even aware of in the parish of Jefferson. So I want to thank him for his life's work, and not just for the honor of having this type of a monument. That sounds like such a word for something of honor, but since everybody keeps throwing that word around, I want to thank him for bringing whatever you want to call this to our city. And what's funny is the same people who are on Facebook poo-pooing it and on the internet and making comments under are the same people that if we wouldn't fight to get some of that money spent here in the city of Kenner would have our hides. Because if they saw that there was, a purpose in this and it's being done in other places around the parish, they'd probably be angry that we didn't fight hard to get some sort of history preserved right here in the city of Kenner. So, I've changed my mind about how I don't want to, how I feel about it. It's still kind of awkward, but Councilmember Carroll said it so well. When people come, and especially young people, and they look at the history, it's something they can aspire to. And good, bad, or indifferent, you know, history will repeat itself, and history is to be learned from. So I think that this actually is a very good thing. And I want to say, too, I have to give credit to this mayor, has been the mayor who has been as fascinated about the past as any other elected official I've ever seen. I know Mayor Kangemi had, you know, has his contribution that he made with a lot of the older pictures that we still display now, and other mayors have made their contribution. But one of the youngest of our mayors has been the most fascinated with the history and with the past. So I can see why this project would be totally appropriate to happen during your time, but something that you would have been proud to bring to the city of Kenner. So I want to give that credit too, that sometimes you walk around his office and there are a lot of pictures of you, and you're happy that you make it in some, but it's, you know, we're not these people up here who just, you know, are dying to see how many pictures we can get on the wall, but there is a place for it. And if the place is not here, where would it be? I have no idea. So I'm going to be voting for this. Okay. You can, actually, no, I only used about 4 minutes and 20 seconds. Yeah, Councilmember Carroll, your light is still on, but I'm assuming that's from previously?
Yes,
Okay.
it was.
All right, so I'm going to give it to Councilmember Black to close.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Everybody has said exactly how we felt about the whole thing. And yes, Mayor, I have to congratulate you and tell you what a great job you've done on preserving the history of Kenner. And you know, you put it so amply one time when I said, Mayor, where have you been all my life? And you said, well, half of it I wasn't born. So I just had to throw that little line in. So he didn't really say that. He would never tell me anything like that. But I thought it was so appropriate.
Because it is about half, right?
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Seeing no further discussion, council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15D is a resolution approving and authorizing the mayor to execute change order number 2 to the construction contract with Command Construction Industries, LLC, for an addition of $8,895.93 to the contract amount, with contract dated December 2nd, 2011, covers Loyola Drive and I-10 interchange modification, Kenner Public Works project number 2009-001-ST, state project number 737-26-0021/H006526, and federal aid project number H006526. This addition in cost, $8,895.93, increases the overall cost of the project to $826,235.99. This project was bid by the state DOTD. Therefore, there is no city sealed bid number.
Okay, motion by Councilmember DeNapolis, second by Councilmember Black. Councilmember DeNapolis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is actually just an additional change order, actually with some alignments on some of the guardrails at the intersection. Of course, you guys have, people have driven through it, knew the new improvements at I-10 and Loyola, which is actually in District 1, which I think we need to change the second on that to Mr. Gregory Carroll.
Okay.
If you don't mind, Ms. Jeannie Black. But
let the record reflect.
Let the record reflect, please. And I do want to say that this is a project that Councilman Carroll and I have been working on to improve that area. One thing is I think you've noticed that the flow out there has much improved, but I do know that there's some signalization out there with the lights that we really need to adjust, and maybe at this time, Jose, if you can tell me, has DOTD responded about getting some of the signalization a little better out there?
They're still tweaking some of the timing on some of those lights. You know, we have had several complaints. Those complaints have been passed on to the DOTD traffic engineers, and they've been cooperating. They've been going out there and tweaking. But every time you tweak it, you help someone and hurt someone else. Okay?
Right.
But they're going to go ahead and continue to tweak it until, you know, they get it right.
Right, and also, too, you must you know, the improvements to the signalization out there. Remember, we have a lot of pedestrians that walk in that intersection, okay? And now that they have buttons that they push to allow signalization for them to be safely walking across, will change sometimes the traffic pattern. But I mean, we have to do that. I mean, that area, there's a lot of pedestrians walking in that area from going to the grocery store or going to the, you know, the Burger King and back and forth. So, you know, this is going to, you know, this is all part of how we need to, you know, progress that area. So, I mean, hopefully it can get tweaked a little bit, but it's not going to be perfect. It never will be, because it's got, that intersection has to also not only address the cars and the movement of the cars, but also has to address the movement of the people in the area as well.
You're absolutely correct.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councilmember Carroll.
Thank you, Madam President. I know lots of time Councilman Denopoulos and I joke about this, and it's all in fun, but it really is both of our areas, because it's contiguous. There's no line that separates 5 from 1. I mean, everybody within the whole city uses that corridor. So it is goes from 5 to 1, and you wouldn't know unless somebody told you. But I want to also thank him and also give Mr. Gonzalez and former Councilman, now Judge Mark Johnson, and Councilman Denopoulos and State Representative Tom Wilmot. Most of these projects took place before I was on the council, so I happen to sit here now, but it was Councilman Johnson, Councilman Denopoulos, Representative Wilmot that really was out in front of this to be able to afford the changes and the upgrades. So I want to make sure that everyone knows that, you know, this is something that I am glad that I am now be able to sign off on, but those individuals were actually did a great job about getting the funds and executing it, like Mr. Gonzalez and the people before him, for this area. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay, seeing no further discussion, council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
Item 16 is ordinances and resolutions in summary for first reading. Item 16A is an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from LA Fabrication LLC in the amount of now $9,225 for repairs to the stair system at the AP Clay Center located at 200 Decatur Street in accordance with telephone bid number T12-1936 for the Department of Community Development. Item 16B is an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Economical Janitorial and Paper Supplies Incorporated for a 6-month contract to supply copy paper for the various City of Kenner departments as per telephone bid number T-12-1932 in the amount not to exceed $10,000. Item 16C is an ordinance authorizing the annexation of the existing portion of Lake Town and the planned addition to Lake Town, which are currently located in unincorporated Jefferson Parish, referred to as West Annex Area and East Annex Area, per a plan by BFM Corporation, project number 7834, dated June 15, 2012, and to provide for related matters. Item 16D is an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Ridgeways LLC, doing business as ARC, in the amount of $7,495 to furnish and install a multifunctional printer in accordance with letter bid 12-1489 to serve both the Planning Department and the Department of Public Works. Item 16E is an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Pelican Construction Supplies LLC for a 2-year contract to supply red tile stamps for handicap corners, ADA pavers for the City of Kenner on an as-needed basis in the amount not to exceed $10,000 per year for the Department of Public Works. Item 16F is an ordinance authorizing the increase of $20,000 to the maximum contract amount and clarifying that the amount is on an as-needed basis for the contract with Direct Source LLC to furnish and install vinyl siding and related exterior improvements at various facilities on an as-needed basis for the Kenner Department of Parks and Recreation. Item 16G is an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Planet Recess Incorporated in the amount of $17,259.40 to furnish and install a swing set and rubber surfacing at Greenlawn Playground in accordance with sealed bid number 12-6101 for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Item 16H is an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Gill's Carpet Sales Incorporated in the amount of $13,550 to furnish and install laminate flooring at the City of Kenner-owned facility located at 421 Williams Boulevard in accordance with letter bid number 12-1488 for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Item 16I is an ordinance authorizing an increase of $4,000 to the maximum contract amount of $12,000 annually for the contract between the City of Kenner and Richard Reams Trophy Company for the purchase of awards on an as-needed basis for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Item 16J is an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Staples Sporting Goods in the amount of $5,260.20 to purchase baseball uniforms and equipment in accordance with telephone bid number T12-1938 for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Item 16K is an ordinance designating and renaming Wentwood Playground Field Number 1 as the George Anthony Dragon Memorial Field Number 1. Item 16L is an ordinance amending Chapter 16, Article 1 and 2 of the City of Kenner Code of Ordinances regarding vehicles for hire. Item 17 is reports from the council and/or special committees.
Yes, we have a few. Councilmember Stagney.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm hopeful that either Mr. Gonzalez or Mr. Dillenkoffer comes back into the chambers. But until then, I guess I will wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. As I mentioned to the mayor not long ago, he's a history buff, and one of the things we talked about was when the Pilgrims landed within that first year, almost 50% of them perished, and yet they found a reason to give thanks. And I know in all of our lives that there's a reason to give thanks during this time of the year. And I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. After Thanksgiving is typically the shopping time for most everyone towards Christmas. And KTV had come up with a great slogan, keep Kenner strong, shop Kenner first. And it's trying to keep local dollars into our community. And I think when you look at purchasing something over the holidays, you should really look at going to a local store to buy your goods. That multiplier effect by buying local helps to pay for your streets and your drainage and other services that we provide here in the City of Kenner. And when you order online, you're not helping to stimulate sales tax dollars to our city. It's not helping to provide for those services. And, you know, if there's just a small difference in price, look at what you can do to help your city. I think every dollar counts because every job counts here in our city. And I'd invite everybody to please try to buy local. It was a great program that KTV started. I'd like to see us maybe promote that a little bit more. It will help us to drive our sales tax dollars up. I see Mr. Gonzalez is back. I'd like to ask him two things. One, I went out with Jerry Dillenkoffer many months ago on the 31st Street little corridor in Highway Park where there is serious soil subsidence because of probably a sewage problem in that area. He took pictures, sent it over to Veolia. This is a long time ago now. I've not gotten a response at all. And the residents from that area, it's 31st in, I think it's 31st in Idaho. I will send you an email first thing in the morning. I think it's 31st in Idaho and maybe, I can't think, it's in the next block, but they're right next to each other. Mr. Dillenkoffer is aware of it. I think your department sent something to Veolia. We need to take care of that problem. It's a serious safety hazard where the cover for the sewage is way up in the air and the sidewalks are like a roller coaster, and they've subsided at least 3 feet in some areas. And they have children that are playing over there. That is an issue. Earlier tonight, I mentioned to you about Main Street, where Majority is. That's 25th and Main. On the northeast corner, there are several street panels that have sunk. There may be either a drainage or a sewage issue. If you could check that out, see if there's an underlying problem. If not, I will go ahead and from the District 2 capital account, repair those street panels to help the charter school that's going to be locating there. Is that?
Will do.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. And tomorrow is going to be Jeannie and Jerry Black's anniversary. I'd like to wish them a happy anniversary. I asked her how many anniversaries, and how many is it, Ms. Black?
Well, I was afraid somebody would ask me that, so I'm going to quote my husband and tell you 2 happy years.
Well, happy anniversary.
Thank you, Mr. Stagney. But we will be having a very special celebration next year, so that'll give you a little hint.
All right, Councilmember DeFrancis.
Thank you, Council President. And even though we wish Jeannie a happy anniversary before, again, an absolutely delightful one. Good people deserve happy times. But first of all, I want to wish all of our employees an absolutely wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving. And thank you for all you do all year round for this city and for the people of Kenner. And also to all the people of Kenner, we wish you a wonderful, happy, and very safe Thanksgiving. And please remember some of your neighbors who are less fortunate. And again, please come back safe after the Thanksgiving holiday, and let's work together to keep this city moving forward. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Carroll.
Thank you, Madam President. And I, too, would like to wish Jeannie and Jerry a 49, for those of you who didn't catch it, 49 years of wedding together. So congratulations. That's a blessing. And she, right, next year she'll have the big 5-0. So that. Other thing is, I'd like to thank the Recreation Department. This past Saturday, we had Super Saturday with the football recreation, and another fantastic event. All the teams throughout the whole recreation. It was a good year for football, but there were some champions, like always. And I would like to say that the 4, 5, and 6 champions were Lincoln Manor. The 7 and 8 was Buddy Lawson. The 9 and 10 was Lincoln Manor. The 11 and 12 were Buddy Lawson, and the 13 and 14 was Lincoln Manor. So congratulations to all of the children. All of the coaches did a fantastic job throughout the football year. And also, I would like to announce tomorrow at the Buddy Lawson Gym from 11 to 2 that there will be a Thanksgiving dinner for the seniors at Buddy Lawson. And it'll be a nice time to socialize for the seniors to come out. There'll be some raffles and door prizes for the seniors, for us to be able to show our appreciation for all the things. Since we talked about history, they are our history, to come out and show our little appreciation for them. And one more thing for Mr. Gonzalez, if he can give us an update. I'm sure if you've ridden in South Kenner and across the tracks at any location or most of the locations, you've seen the upgrades and the attention that now, to be honest with you, I've lived there my whole life, and the signage that's there now really gets your attention. And it's a safety precautions for everyone, but it really does help. And this is something that I thought in the beginning wouldn't really change that much, but it does. And if Mr. Gonzalez can give us an update on that project, sir.
This was part of a grant that the city had received some time ago through the state. The state bid the project. It's a short project as far as time is concerned. The contractor should probably be finished by the end of this month. And it covered just about every railroad crossing in South Kenner. And the work entailed striping and signing.
Right. Well, thank you. And the sign stipulates the railroad crossing, the signage, and the paint in the street. So this is something that I think will last for a long time, the painting and all. And this, by all means, will save lives, which are, really important to us and to our city. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. I wanted to announce that on Tuesday, December 4th, there'll be a Kenner City Hall blood drive right here at City Hall from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. The Bloodmobile will be out here, so if you want to save a life and donate blood, please come by City Hall on Tuesday, December the 4th. And then also, our Christmas Village opens November the 30th, 5:30 to 8:30. We're going to do the lighting of the tree, and we'll have Benny Grunch and the Bunch. And always throughout the holiday, it's open on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 5:30 to 8:30, with the exception of that last Sunday. And we'll have, let's see, each week, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday till December 23rd. Okay? And then we'll have local choirs, we'll have school bands, dance groups. Every Saturday, there'll be a holiday laser show. It's $2 in the planetarium. Every Friday, there's storytelling at St. Mary's Chapel. There'll be a show every Friday and Saturday. So come on out to our Christmas Village, and especially to our lighting on November 30th. It's usually a wonderful night and a great event. So we'll be flipping on the lights. Okay. Let's see, Councilmember Carroll. Councilmember DeNapolis, did you speak? Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Once again, as a council, we always talk a lot about recreation, and this week there was Cheer Fest at the Pontchartrain Center, and boy, what an event! What a bunch of talented girls and guys in our recreation department. And once again, I want to thank Diane Long and her staff for putting it on. It's probably, I think, in its 8th or 9th year that they're doing it, and it was just tremendous just to see the energy and the participation from the parents. I mean, they filled the stands. They were dressed, they were masked, they had, Wentwood had the Indian hats on, and they had gators with Wood Lake and from all the different playgrounds. It's just a wonderful event, and this is the kind of thing that makes Kenner apart from the other communities that surround us, is that we put emphasis in quality of life, and this is definitely a quality of life emphasis as our recreation department. They do a great job. I was thoroughly entertained. I know Councilman Stagney was there, Councilman Carroll was there, and Councilman Chris Reno and Councilwoman Maria DeFrancis was there, and it was just a great event by all. Thank you.
Okay, great. Councilmember Black.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to announce another thing, that we will be having the annual fundraiser for I'll get it out sooner or later, fundraiser for our food bank, which will be held at the Chateau Estates. The Mayor and Mrs. Mike Yenny and Chief of Police Steve Caraway and Mrs. Caraway are hosting the event. And it is a wonderful celebration, and all the proceeds go to the Kenner Food Bank. And the only criteria is you buy a ticket, which is, I think, $30, which gives you a meal and an open bar. Plus, they have about 30 boutiques that you can purchase Christmas gifts, and have auctions on many valuable artwork and special door prizes, and it's a wonderful event. I've been the last 2 years, and it's wonderful. I think we raised something like $15,000 last year for the food bank, and it's an entertaining night. It's a social gala, if so to speak, and you need to buy a ticket and bring a can of or something, a non-perishable food item, and that is on November 27th at Chateau Estates Country Club, and you can buy your tickets in advance, or will you be allowed to pay at the door, Mayor? Or you can pay at the door. So we'd like to see more people out there and raise more money for the food bank, which I'll tell you, all of the money that we raised, we stocked our shelves, and in no time it was depleted. So it's a great opportunity to give to people less, that we has blessed in what we have, and it's also a wonderful time to be had by all at the boutiques and the food and gala. So thank you.
Thank you. And Councilmember Carroll failed to mention one thing that cannot go unsaid.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to acknowledge actually two city workers, but one specifically, Mr. Sean Geiger, who has worked for the city of Kenner for 31 years. Sean has he presently working in fleet management, but he's worked in public works, and he has been a fantastic friend of mine that I've known through the years. One of the things that's real special about Sean is that he has cerebral palsy, and most people will look at this as an excuse not to be able to be successful in life and to be able to have a productive life and an employment. But Sean has never looked at it like that. We are truly going to miss Sean. He has a fantastic personality, and he is retiring after 31 years with the city of Kenner. Sean is. So the last time I was about fleet management, so. All right. And also, Mr. Danny Kohler with the Recreation Department retired after 30 years. So, you know, we have a lot of experience with the city of Kenner. We're going to be missing these guys. So I think it's good for us to be able to give them a little acknowledgement today. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Councilmember Stagney, you've already spoken. Is it something as earth-shatteringly important as what Mr. Carroll? It better be.
Also, Ms. Liz Bowman in our city attorney's office is retiring as well. So we thank her for her service to the administration and to the citizens of Kenner.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Council Clerk?
Yes, ma'am. Item 18 is new business. Item 18A, we took at an earlier juncture. Item 18B, we also took at an earlier juncture. Item 19 is unfinished business and/or motions to reconsider or move from a tabled position.
We have none.
Item 20 is persons wishing to address the council or on special subject matters.
Mr. Larry Daigle.
Good afternoon, Larry Daigle, 4128 Tulane Drive, Kenner, Louisiana. It's been a while since I took the podium. Ms. Jeannie, you took the words out of my mouth. Mayor Yenny, congratulations. You and your people doing a good job, and council members, y'all doing a great job. And I'd like to thank Jerry Dillenkoff and Larry Williams and Willie Bell for cutting the trees and the bushes by Treasure Chest Casino. Transportation told me to come down and tell y'all thank y'all very much. Y'all did a great job. And one other thing, my wife and I took a trip to Memphis, Tennessee. Y'all know it's in Memphis, Alvis. And we went across from Graceland, and they got this little movie theater called Walk 'Em All in My Shoes. And people come up to this podium and put y'all down. I don't know why, but before they do it, they ought to do like Alvis says, walk 'em all in y'all shoes before they come up here and put y'all down. You either like the city of Kenner or get the hell out of it. That's all I can say. And Mr. Frances, like you said, think of your neighbors and the unfortunate people for the holidays. Happy Thanksgiving, and Jeannie, happy 49th. Good night.
Thank you, Larry. I think some of these people actually spoke earlier, but Luis Monteras, he spoke. Mr. Walt Benetti.
Walt Benetti, 3009 Illinois Avenue in Councilman Stagney's district. First, I'd like to thank everyone, the Kenner voters who overwhelmingly approved the charter changes. I'd like to thank Councilman DeNapolis and Councilman Reno for putting them up there, and for all the council for unanimously approving them and allowing the voters to vote on them. Regarding Proposition number 2, since it does not take effect until January, I would like to ask the administration and the mayor to disclose any contracts that they've entered into over $100,000 for the past 6 months, and to possibly refrain from entering into any until the law takes effect in January. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Benetti. Mr. Anthony Pierce, I think he was here earlier. Frank Setar, was he here earlier? Okay. Mr. Richard Brown.
Thank you, Madam President. I signed in just for you this time.
Oh, well, that used to always bug her. That's why I continued it.
And by the way, I want to wish a happy anniversary to Jeannie Black and to Jerry. And I also want to thank the Kenner voters for approving those 2 charter changes overwhelmingly by something like...
Excuse me one second, Mr. Richard Brown, 824 Sessions.
Oh, I'm sorry, did I not say that? Richard Brown, 824 Sessions Lane, Kenner.
Okay.
Thank you. I wanted to thank the voters for approving those 2 charter changes. I think they're both good government measures. And I want to extend my condolences to Gregory Carroll on the death of his father-in-law. And as I understand, he had 29 grandchildren. Is that correct,
Wow.
Mr. Carroll? That's something. I wish I'd had the chance to get to know him. The main reason I wanted to speak tonight was on an item which the council deferred. And that was item, I think it was 15C, whichever item it was, maybe 15A. It's the creation of the Board of Standards and Appeals. And I've talked to several of you about this. I think I've discussed it with at least 5 council members, with some of you several times. We've had lengthy conversations. I know the council is working hard on this. I know that several amendments are in the works, which I think will make it better. I still have some reservations about whether it's really needed and about what the true purpose for it is. But I wanted to make at least a couple of points, and that, you know, some of the confusion I hear, and I think that there's a world of confusion out there about the reason for this and what it does and what it doesn't do. But as far as people who feel aggrieved by a decision of the chief code enforcement officer, and as I understand, this is just to deal with building codes and electrical codes and plumbing codes, not really for zoning issues. I've heard that right now, if people are aggrieved by the decision of the building official, that they appeal to the mayor's court. I've heard they appeal to Tamithia Shaw, who is the head of that department. I've heard that they can appeal to the Jefferson Parish Board of Standards and Appeals, and I've heard they can appeal to district court in the 24th JDC in Jefferson Parish. And I don't know what the case is. I'm trying to look into this. I think those are some of the questions and issues that need to be resolved. And I'm concerned about some language in this legislation. There is one place in it where it does clarify that people who appeal to this board, if we do institute it, and I still question whether we need it. There may be a need, but I'm still not convinced yet. There is language that indicates people may appeal to the 24th JDC, although I think that language can be improved upon. But this language in here in another place, and this may have to do with either sidewalks or some zoning variances. I forget just where in here it is, but states very clearly that the decision of this board is final. So you have a conflict in here. There's one place where it seems to say you can appeal and another place where it says you cannot appeal. The biggest issue I have, and that I've heard from almost everybody who I've discussed this with, is that if we adopt this or something along these lines, the citizens I've talked to do not want this board or any group to be able to grant waivers from putting in sidewalks to people.
Okay.
And some of us have heard rumors that that really is a purpose for it. We feel strongly.
Mr. Brown, your time is up.
Okay. If the law says you need a sidewalk, we
Thank
want a
you.
sidewalk. Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no further, every time I do that too quick, somebody jumps up. Meeting adjourned.